What's up? This is Matt and Greg with the Dusty Console, and today we're actually going to show you guys how we capture the old classic consoles. It can be kind of difficult, so we've got Matt here, which is our expert, and he's going to take us through it.
I know there's a lot of videos out there about this stuff. It is just kind of interesting to go over the, I want to share my experience with it here. My Life in Gaming, a lot of other good channels I actually learned a lot from. But hopefully be able to add a little bit to the repertoire of information. First things first, you got to get a capture card. Now, I had a lot of basic stuff laying around the house, like this is an old Firewire capture card. This is an old TV capture card that can do digital TV. Gave all these a try. Didn't work out as well as I'd hoped to. Software is more designed for recording stuff off of television. It works. But what we decided to go with in the end, after making some investments in some things, was just get an HDMI capture device. It's a good standard. It's going to be around for a long time. High resolution, can do pretty much any signal as long as you pipe it through the right stuff here, and we'll get into that. And you get something that looks good like this here. So here, I got this on my computer. I just need to click record down here, and we got ourselves some video that's getting recorded. Get into the signal path here a little bit. What we do is have the computer here. Again, the capture card is in here. And what we decided to go with, and I know a lot of people see this stuff online, for the old consoles was to actually get a FrameMeister. It's a great upscaler. It basically takes any signal that you want, turns it into HDMI with little to no latency. It's a lot of money. There's cheaper versions of it out there, but the alternative is to get little older cards like this, and then plug your consoles directly into them and capture it that way. You'll have your S video, your composite video will work just as well. It just might be a little bit more difficult to set up. So from there, we go from the signal path, and you see right here we got Turtles 2 playing here. This is actually the next important thing to do is to make sure you're getting the best signal you can out of your console. Again, My Life in Gaming's got some great videos on this stuff. This is my little baby here, and my wife's childhood Nintendo that I've modified to put out an S video signal. Here's the audio coming out. We'll get into that a little bit later here, but you'll see here, it goes out S video into the capture card. Goes into my HDMI switch, and then into the capture card after that. Got a lot of consoles. Decided to finally get a switch. Hopefully works. If you're having problems getting your signal out, remove that switch first thing. I found a brand that finally works for me. I think I went through 3 of those before I found something that worked. You look here, it's not perfect. The S-Video signal only breaks out the signal over 2 wires, but it's better than Composite's 1. So you'll see some artifacting here and there. A little bit of that I like. It's okay. I remember playing on old analog TVs and it was looking mushy as heck. A lot of the games and the pixel art was kind of designed for that. That was just the way the TVs were. And I like the pixels. I want to see something a little bit extra sharp there. And people, as far as when we're making content, people can zoom in, zoom out as much as they want. Just gives people more options. And I think it gets a little bit closer to what pixel artists back in the day would have been creating for these games too. So after that, we got all the video. The next most important part is the audio. And here's where we interject ourselves a little bit. And we need to make sure that the audio that we capture syncs up with the video. When we're making it. This is where we've gotten a little bit different because we have the camera that we sync up, and of course the camera captures audio, but the microphone isn't very good for that. So I wanted to capture something at the same time as the game audio and make sure it was absolutely synced up. So here we got our microphone, MXL 770, pretty cheap on Amazon these days. It worked out. I was surprised how good this worked. I had a bunch of regular DJ mics and things like that before. Worked okay, but we just could not move around and be sure that we're going to catch the conversation as well as we were going to. It is a condenser mic. It needs phantom power. So follow the wire up here, la da 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 da, plus the PlayStation VR, and it comes up to here. So this might look expensive and complicated. This is honestly something that I had for a DJ and PA setup. So it's kind of a multi-use thing. I like throwing parties, and I have some big speakers I can hook this into. But it's all this is doing is providing phantom power to the microphone. Then I'm actually using the headphone jack. Takes the audio signal, and we can adjust the level on that. And then we run it all the way along the wall here, down to a second mixer here, actually. I really like these USB ones. I got to admit, I was really USB. They are. I was really suspicious of them at first, but it just makes capturing audio on, and you don't need to go through your sound card. It comes up as a device. I can make another video about that later on. But what we really want to do here is split the audio on the left and right channel. So you see here, I'm not plugging both channels in from what's coming from the microphone. Microphones are always mono. And like, yeah, you can record in stereo, and maybe some of them have stereo features. I prefer in mono. It is we only got the one microphone, so we're putting that on the left channel, and on the right channel here, this line coming out of the original Nintendo is right here. So this is part of the mod that we got on the Nintendo as well. If you're hooking up your consoles natively, you just go into the audio port there, and you'll be fine. You see, there's only one wire here. That's a mono signal. So I'm taking that's going into the computer, and you see here we have Audacity up. Audacity is great software. This is the microphone USB audio codec. That's how it happens to come. This mixer happens to come up on my computer, and now I just hit record. Boom. And you'll see some audio stuff coming up. So I talk really loud. You'll see my voice right there. That's coming. That's what the condenser microphone is picking up. And here is going to be the audio from the game. So let's hit stop and play that. You can hear the turtles doing that. And that sounds like crap because we're far away from the microphone. But you get the idea. Basically, it makes something, records two channels, they're all both synced up. It makes things a lot easier for the other half of the operation here, Greg, when he's mixing the videos down and getting everything together.
Right, so in post-production, what we're going to do is in a video and audio editing software program such as Adobe Premiere or anything on the market that you like to use, you can take that audio file, and one channel of it is all our voices, and the other channel is all the game audio. So all you have to do is split them apart, or duplicate them. In essence, you take two of the left channels and put them together, two of the right channels and put them together, and then you have two files. They're both mono, but they're coming out of both sides. And when you're working with old tech like this, these games, they didn't have stereo sound, so it didn't matter. As long as you have audio from both on two different files, two different audio files, that way, when you're doing the editing afterwards, you can adjust the volumes independently of the game audio and the voices, because that's very, very important. Some of these games get very, very loud. Other times they get very, very quiet. You need to be able to adjust that without affecting the quality of your voice recording. So that's what we do in post-production.
You guys may have noticed this huge TV that we got behind us here. So this was the biggest investment that we had. Hopefully, a lot of you guys out there have already gotten the big TVs. You know, gamers like their big TVs. The TV is my workspace now. It's phenomenal. You gotta have a big video card for this, but you see these icons are just really tiny. Makes it a little hard to read, but I sit close and I'll actually stand here and get things set up before I go back to the couch. and actually start playing the game. But I can scale what the feed that's coming out of my Nintendo to whatever I want, and have the audio stream on the TV as we're going. So that is super important, because there's nothing worse than playing for an hour and realizing that your audio was too low, too high, or just non-existent. Here we see the levels. I can check that I got record hitting here, which I've missed a couple of times, but it is nice to get the best chance of success having it right there. And then the audio, of course, I can see both channels coming up at the same time. That's just perfect. And then once we're done recording, I just hit stop, and then I go to File, Export as a wave. I save it in the same. I see here's our Jackal playthrough that we just posted up. As a WAV file, send it all to the editing master, and we got ourselves another video here. Just for a bit of comparison here, let's try and see see what the pixels are going to look like with a modded and unmodded console. So we got the Super Nintendo here with Super Mario World in there. It's going to look a lot better than the first gen Nintendo, right? Well, maybe not. So here you can see you got good kind of pixely squares here. The colors fade together a little bit here and there, but you can really tell that the pixels are well defined here, especially if there's a bit of contrast between them. Now I'm going to switch the feed on the FrameMeister to, and I've got to learn some Japanese figuring out this remote here. It's standard video, and it's going to drop for a little while as the FrameMeister figures everything out. And here's an interesting problem too. So if you got this purplishness to it here, and I don't know if it's the FrameMeister or my capture card, that just happens. Unplug the HDMI, plug it in again. It's inconvenient, but it's not the end of the world. So that signal should pop up, and it's looking fine. So now, if we zoom in here again, you can see the pixels are pretty well defined, but you got this bit of flashing, and there's a lot more overlap with with how things look. This gives it a lot softer of a look. Not bad, still extremely playable, and a lot of fun. The FrameMeister makes it look pretty dang good. If you're using the cards like the other ones that I showed you there before, this effect might be a little bit worse too, and there might be some latency in your gameplay as well. But I think this looks good. It's worth it to mod the consoles if you can get a chance to do it. I like it, especially if you're going to be putting a lot of time into it. I know we're going to. There's just great games on the library here too. Hopefully we'll post some more videos about how we mod the other consoles here, but the original 8-bit, that's really our baby here, and we're going to dust off some old games and hopefully get a few good things posted.
Why don't you show us some of the consoles that we have to look forward to in the future?
Oh, okay. So, past the studio lights, lighting. That's also another very
Lighting is
thing.
very important.
We got a bit of the collection here. We got a couple of 2600s, of course. Sega Genesis, need to buy some games for that. Original Atari 7800 and a Pong console in there. Knockoff Famicom there. Works well with the games though. It had the original box, so that was like 20 bucks. What can you do? Nintendo 64. Paula, my lovely wife, she's the good collector here and saved her childhood Nintendo 64 in box, so that's a nice treasure there. Here's where the Super Nintendo would sit. Dreamcast, of course, always a favorite of mine. The Sega Saturn. That's got some good video output options. I'm looking forward to playing with that. Not a fan of the controllers on that guy though. Got a few GameCubes here. They're fun. We got a little bit in the library there. Next is a little bit of a gem. See, I've got it all glued together. This is a Neo Geo that I brought back from the dead. Looking for another controller for this on eBay right now. But games are very expensive for this. It's got the big cartridges, but man, you got some great stuff on this thing here. Down below, here's the big controller, and then this is a Neo Geo board I got for playing the arcade cartridges. They're a little bit cheaper. So this is what they would have bought for an arcade, would have bought this and put this into the cabinet, and put this big old chunky thing in there. And then this is the board, basically a console that would plug into a much larger thing. This is another cool mod thing. It's the Super Gun. This is the JAMA connector goes into that, and then you get your regular SCART and good signals out of that. That's going to look pretty dang good going through the Elgato here potentially, or I may have some other solutions for that. And then of course you got your, for the original, you actually have the packaged stuff here. Here's the one game that I do have, and they're different because of course they are. But we'll have some good options there when we activate that. Of course, got to have the PlayStation. That's always good. Xbox is this is where we're keeping the games. Xbox is in. Oh, it's right down here. I've been using that to test a number of things here. And then, of course, we got the Panasonic, the 3DO here. That was a good eBay find. Took it apart, dusted it off, and it actually worked all right. Hopefully it doesn't overheat and crash on us. We got to find some more games for that. Then, of course, we got the game library here. Here's a PlayStation 3 I'm trying to revive, one of the old backwards compatible ones, but might not be long for this world. I kind of banged it up pretty bad, but I'm going to give it a good chance here. Then all the PlayStation 3 games, PlayStation 2, probably my favorite, and the one that I have the most games for. And then over here, over by Paula, we got our backup TV and alternate setup for the old school recording with the older camera and a few things there. We'll hopefully be able to mix that up. Got the Wii's here for kids when they come over when we're hosting parties. Those are set up for people to play here. It's kind of a plan B. All the modern generation consoles though are on the big TV there. You may have seen the PlayStation 4 sitting right there. Xbox 360, Xbox One, the Switch, and that should be it, right? No, yeah, PlayStation 3 I keep here too. That's my working one down there. Oh, yeah. So there's the PlayStation 3 next to all my networking equipment. Got to keep everything up to date, right?
Well, there you have it. That's how easy it is to get this all set up and done. It's actually not easy, and thanks to Matt for putting in most of the work, figuring all this out, and scouring the internet for hours to try to figure out solutions to some pretty difficult problems. But we'll be back next time with more gameplay, more classic gameplay. We certainly want to go through all of those consoles. I don't know how many games we'll be able to do, but we want to get through them.
Oh, there'll be a way.
There'll be a way. All right, guys. Bye. We'll see you on the next one.
See ya.